They said food cooked with love tastes the best. What if the secret ingredient isn't love, but something far darker? You won't believe the twist in this story. In the village of Ngondo, the aroma of freshly cooked meals filled the air every day. The village had several large restaurants owned by proud chefs who boasted about their cooking skills. Yet, despite their lazarous setups, the entire village flocked to one humble food vendor named Ajekor, pushing her rusty wheelbarrow through the bustling streets. Ajekor's pride was in her meals, which were cherished by almost everyone in Ugondo. Just one bite, and your tongue will thank you for life, she would say with a charming smile as she pushed her wheelbarrow along the streets. The old wheelbarrow made some funny sound as she pushed it, but no one cared about it, for her food smelled like a beautiful perfume and tasted like honey. Woman, why are you carrying your food around in this noisy wheelbarrow? Asked a villager. Ah, Uncle Ogumde, don't be jealous, Ajekor replied, laughing. You owned the biggest restaurant in this village, yet your children can't do without my delicious food. The villagers roared with laughter as Ogunde stormed away in anger. It wasn't just the food. Ajekor had charms as well. She greeted everyone like family. She cracked jokes that are so funny, and somehow she memorized every customer's favorite dish. But there was something else, something that made her food irresistible. At about the same time the village was enjoying Ajekor's food, the king celebrated his birthday. A grand feast was declared in Ugondo just to honor the king. Musicians played flutes and talking drums. Dancers danced in circles, and the palace was filled with laughter. Every renowned chef in the village was invited to the feast, but to everyone's surprise, Ajekor was invited to the kitchen. The king personally asked her to prepare the meals that would be served at the feast that day. With trembling hands and a mysterious smile, Ajekor rode her wheelbarrow into the palace. Her clay pot steamed gently. The aroma made everyone there to be hungrier. She was led into the palace kitchen, where the palace maids awaited. With a flick of her wrist, she emptied her clay pot into the royal stew. The scent shifted, no longer just delicious, but haunting, enchanting, and ancient. The food was served, and everyone ate till they overfed themselves that day. Two royal guests almost fought because of Ajekor's food. You took my meat, said one of the guests. No, you ate it yourself, replied the other guest. Ajekor's attention was drawn, and then she went to the kitchen to get more meat for the guests, and they were so excited. As the celebration was going on, everyone's attention shifted from the king. They were all singing praises of Ajekor. They sang of how delicious Ajekor's food tasted. That day, Ajekor's food did wonders beyond everyone's imagination. Everyone was happy because it was as if the gods themselves fed them with their hands that day. And so, that feast was not forgotten in Ugondo for a long time. Not for the sweet palm wine they drank or the beautiful tunes beaten by the drummers, but for the food that came from Ajekor's clay pot that day. One day, Mama Tino, The nosy gossip of the village said to a group of women, "Have you thought about Ajekor? Her food seems so delicious to everyone in this village. I am very sure something is not right. Maybe she uses special spices," suggested one woman. "Special spices?" Mama Tino retorted, her eyes narrowing. "I don't think so. There's more to it than the eyes can see." The next morning, Mama Tino confronted Ajekor when she was rolling her wheelbarrow across the street. "Ajekor, why must the food from a rusty wheelbarrow be more delicious than the ones from the big restaurants in this village?" asked Mama Tino. "Mama Tino, I can see you are jealous too," replied Ajekor. "But always remember that when the gods are with you, your business will surely flourish." One evening, a newly married couple sat outside their hut when the man said to his wife, "Elimo, every woman needs to learn how to cook from Ajekor." "My husband," replied the wife, "you need to stop eating Ajekor's meals. I'm sure that woman is evil." "She's not evil," he said. "She's talented, and that's why her meals are always delicious." Perhaps Elimo wasn't the only one who felt Ajekor was evil. Some other villagers felt the same way. It was so obvious because the villagers always whispered behind Ajekor's back each time she comes around with her rusty wheelbarrow. The next day, Ajekor's best friend, Mino, came visiting. "Ajekor, please be careful. Some villagers are saying you are using sham to prepare your food," said Mino. Ajekor laughed and then said, "They are always jealous of me because I've got talent when it comes to cooking." One market day, a strange visitor arrived in Ugondo. It was an old woman with silver beads in her hair and a walking stick. She came quietly, asking no questions and answering none. But what caught the attention of the villagers was that she bought a bowl of Ajekor's fried rice and chicken. The moment she tasted it, her eyes narrowed. She whispered something under her breath in a language no one could understand, then paid double the price and disappeared into the forest behind the village. That night, under the full moon, she returned, not to the market, but to the home of the village chief priest. She demanded a private meeting. For hours, the drums stopped, and even the incense seemed to hush. No one knew what they discussed, but by morning, the chief priest looked as though he hadn't slept all through the night. The next day, the chief priest summoned Ajekor. She came with a very warm smile on her face, but her eyes held shadows. As she stepped into the shrine, the secret bells chimed without being touched. Some villagers watching from afar were filled with shock. The chief priest stood in silence, holding his staff very tight while staring at Ajekor. "Ajekor," he said, "there is a question only you can answer." Ajekor smiled and then said in a very gentle tone, "Ask, and I will speak." "Your food tastes of forgotten herbs," said the chief priest. "Flavors no one had tasted before. Tell me the truth, my child. Who taught you?" Ajekor smiled, but her voice turned cold. "I cook what my ancestors whispered to me," she said, "and the flavor comes from the gods. Some flavors live in dreams," the chief priest whispered. The chief priest stared at Ajekor in a manner that got her scared. She turned to leave, but was surprised to see the strange visitor standing behind her. "Let the ancestors speak tonight," the chief priest said in a loud voice as Ajekor was leaving. "I shall dream, and if I see what I fear, Ajekor, I will pay you a visit. By the next morning, most villagers started suspecting Ajekor. They started asking questions that begged for answers. What exactly did she put in those meals? Why did her stew feel like it hid you and frightened you at the same time? Why is she always cooking at night? The rumor of Ajekor's meal spread round Ugondo till the king decided to set a plan in motion. He appointed some villagers to watch Ajekor closely in an attempt to uncover her secret. One night, Ajekor pushed her wheelbarrow towards the forest. The villagers trailed her, hiding in bushes and behind trees. They followed her carefully till she got to a point where she brought out the clay pot from the wheelbarrow and placed it on the ground. She knelt down before the clay pot and started chanting, "Spirits of the forest, accept this offering. Let my food bring joy and my enemies shame." The villagers froze as they saw her pour some thick, dark liquid into the clay pot. Ajekor was there for a while before she carried the clay pot back to the wheelbarrow and started going back home. The following morning, the villagers finally reported back to the king. "Ajekor is using charm in her food. We saw her in the forest," they said to the king. The king summoned the entire villagers to the market square. Immediately he heard the ugly report, and Ajekor was brought out for questioning. "Ajekor, are you using charm to prepare your food?" asked the king. "Charm? In my food? Not at all, your highness. Please, I am just a woman with great talent when it comes to cooking," she replied with a sad look on her face. Suddenly, the chief priest spoke from where he stood among the crowd while pointing his staff towards Ajekor. "Woman, say the truth before the gods strike you dead." His tone was so scary, while his staff looked very fearful, and so Ajekor fell to her knees, begging for mercy. "Please forgive me," Ajekor cried. "My food brought people joy, but they came from an evil source." Ajekor was still crying when a heavy wind started blowing. People started running for safety, but there wasn't anywhere safe for Ajekor. By the time the wind stopped blowing, she could neither speak nor hear. She had gone deaf and dumb. She lived the rest of her life in pain and total regret because the villagers couldn't forget her evils in a hurry. The story of Ajekor was shared from generation to generation. It was a story that taught people that deceitful, greedy, and wicked people will never go unpunished. It also taught people that when success comes at the cost of others, the price is always paid in full. And so, my people, the next time you see food that tastes too good to be true, remember Ajekor.